The year is 1965, a year that would mark a significant turning point in the history of Pakistan. Pakistan, a young nation just about 20 years old, is full of hope and progress. The streets are alive with the energy of a country on the move, with new buildings and infrastructure symbolizing a bright future. In Lahore, the cultural center of Punjab, the smell of jasmine flowers mixes with the smell of fresh bread. The markets are vibrant, filled with the sounds of vendors calling out their wares and the chatter of people. People are talking and laughing in the busy markets. There is a sense of community and togetherness, a feeling that anything is possible. Islamabad, the carefully planned capital city, shows the nation's dreams for a better future. The city is a symbol of modernity and progress with its wide boulevards and modern buildings. But under this normal life, a problem is growing. There is a sense of unease, a feeling that something is not quite right. The issue of Kashmir, a beautiful mountain region claimed by both Pakistan and India, is a big worry. The stunning landscapes hide a deep and painful conflict. Since the separation of British India in 1947, Kashmir has been a painful problem. The partition left a legacy of division and conflict that continues to haunt the region. The people of Kashmir, mostly Muslims, wanted to join Pakistan, but India didn't agree. This disagreement has led to decades of tension and unrest. This led to the first war between India and Pakistan in 1947-48. The conflict was brutal and left deep scars on both nations. A ceasefire line was drawn, dividing the region. This line, known as the Line of Control, remains a flashpoint for conflict. The United Nations promised a vote to decide Kashmir's future, but it never happened. The promise of a plebiscite remains unfulfilled, adding to the frustration and anger. Talks between India and Pakistan didn't solve the problem. Diplomatic efforts have repeatedly failed, leaving the issue unresolved. The people of Kashmir were stuck, and their hopes for freedom were not met. Their daily lives are marked by uncertainty and hardship. The Kashmir issue caused tension between India and Pakistan. The border is heavily militarized, and the threat of conflict looms large. It created mistrust and anger. The people of both nations are caught in a cycle of suspicion and hostility. In the early 1960s, small fights at the border became more common. These skirmishes added fuel to the fire, increasing the tension. Both countries blamed each other. The rhetoric from politicians and the media only served to deepen the divide. Kashmir was like a box of matches ready to catch fire. The situation was volatile, and it seemed only a matter of time before it would explode into full-scale conflict. The separation of British India in 1947 was a monumental event that reshaped the subcontinent. However, it also brought immense pain and suffering to millions of people. Families were torn apart, and communities that had lived together for centuries were suddenly divided by new borders. The Radcliffe Line, hastily drawn by the British, created the border between the newly formed nations of India and Pakistan. This arbitrary line cut through towns, villages and farmlands, leaving countless people homeless and in a state of chaos. The mass migration that followed was one of the largest in human history, with millions of people crossing the borders to join their chosen nation. Amidst this turmoil, the fate of the princely states became a significant issue. These semi-autonomous regions had to decide whether to join India or Pakistan, adding another layer of complexity to an already chaotic situation. Among these princely states, Kashmir stood out due to its unique circumstances. Unlike other states, Kashmir had a predominantly Muslim population but was ruled by a Hindu Maharaja, Hari Singh. This made its decision particularly contentious. Maharaja Hari Singh found himself in a difficult position. He was a Hindu ruler governing a largely Muslim population, and he faced immense pressure from both India and Pakistan to join their respective nations. Initially, the Maharaja wanted to remain neutral and hoped to keep Kashmir independent. He believed that this would be the best way to maintain peace and stability in the region. However, the idea of an independent Kashmir was not acceptable to either India or Pakistan. Both nations had strategic and political interests in the region, making neutrality an untenable position. The situation escalated when tribesmen from Pakistan's northwest frontier province entered Kashmir, leading to widespread violence and instability. In desperation, the Maharaja turned to India for military assistance. India agreed to help, but with a crucial condition: Kashmir had to accede to India. Faced with no other viable options, the Maharaja signed the Instrument of Accession, making Kashmir a part of India. This decision was met with immediate resistance from Pakistan, which felt that the Maharaja had been coerced into joining India. The accession of Kashmir to India remains a deeply contentious issue to this day. Pakistan vehemently opposed the accession, arguing that the Maharaja's decision did not reflect the will of the Kashmiri people. This disagreement quickly escalated into a full-blown conflict. Allegations of coercion and controversy surrounded the accession, with both sides presenting conflicting narratives. The situation was further complicated by the involvement of international actors and the strategic importance of the region. The tensions culminated in the First India-Pakistan War, which lasted from 1947 to 1948. The conflict resulted in significant loss of life and further entrenched the divisions between the two nations. The war ended with a United Nations brokered ceasefire, establishing the line of control that effectively divided Kashmir into two parts. This line remains one of the most heavily militarized borders in the world. The United Nations proposed a plebiscite to allow the people of Kashmir to decide their own future. However, this vote has never taken place, leaving the region in a state of perpetual dispute. Today, Kashmir remains a flashpoint between India and Pakistan, with both nations claiming the region in its entirety. The wound inflicted by the partition of 1947 continues to fester, affecting the lives of millions and shaping the geopolitics of South Asia.
By 1965, Pakistan's leaders thought India was weak after losing a war against China in 1962. The defeat had left India reeling, and Pakistan saw this as an opportunity to strike. They believed that India's military was still recovering and that the political situation was unstable. They saw a chance to help Kashmir become free from India. The region of Kashmir had long been a contentious area, with both India and Pakistan claiming it as their own. The unrest in Kashmir provided the perfect backdrop for Pakistan's ambitions. They started a secret plan called Operation Gibraltar. This operation was meticulously planned, with the aim of infiltrating Indian-held Kashmir and inciting a rebellion. The goal was to destabilize the region and create a situation where Pakistan could intervene militarily.
The plan was to send Pakistani soldiers dressed as Kashmiris into Indian-held Kashmir. These soldiers were trained to blend in with the local population, making it difficult for Indian forces to identify them. These soldiers would start a fight against Indian rule, pulling Indian soldiers away from the ceasefire line. The idea was to stretch the Indian military thin, making it easier for Pakistan to launch a full-scale attack. Then, Pakistan would attack and take all of Kashmir. The ultimate objective was to seize control of the entire region, which would be a significant strategic and political victory for Pakistan.
The operation began in August 1965. Pakistani forces moved swiftly, crossing the ceasefire line under the cover of darkness. Groups of trained soldiers crossed the ceasefire line and hid in the mountains. These soldiers were well prepared for the harsh terrain and had been trained in guerrilla warfare tactics. They had weapons and radios. The radios were crucial for maintaining communication with their commanders and coordinating their movements. They talked to people in Kashmir who supported Pakistan and started to cause trouble. By gaining the support of local sympathizers, they aimed to create a widespread uprising against Indian rule. They attacked Indian army places, surprise patrols, and cut communication lines. These tactics were designed to create confusion and disrupt Indian military operations. They wanted to create chaos and make people fight amongst themselves so Pakistan could attack. The ultimate aim was to weaken India's hold on Kashmir, making it easier for Pakistan to achieve its objectives. India reacted quickly to Operation Gibraltar. Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri, a small man but very strong, promised to protect India. Indian soldiers fought back against the Pakistani soldiers in Kashmir. But India did more than that.
On September 6, 1965, Indian soldiers crossed the border and attacked Pakistan. This attack, called Operation Grand Slam, was aimed at Lahore, an important city in Pakistan. This surprised everyone. A small fight in Kashmir became a big war between two countries.
The attack on Lahore surprised Pakistan. The Pakistani army was not ready for such a big attack. They quickly tried to defend themselves. What started as a secret plan to free Kashmir became a fight for Pakistan's survival. Pakistan was now in a tough war against a bigger and stronger enemy.
Even though the enemy was strong, we never gave up. Every soldier was brave and showed the spirit of our nation.
We fought with our weapons and with our hearts. Every step we took showed our courage.
In this difficult time, true bravery was seen. Great heroes were made.
Our Air Force pilots flew bravely in the sky, protecting our land. They were like eagles watching over us.
And our Navy protected our coasts. Together, they protected our nation.
We were not soldiers, but we helped too. Every donation, every act of support made our soldiers stronger.
People at home supported the soldiers. Everyone helped in the fight for freedom.
The ceasefire wasn't just the end of the fighting, it was a new beginning. It was a chance to rebuild and become a stronger nation.
After the fighting, the real work began. Rebuilding was just as important as the war. Through unity and hard work, Pakistan became a stronger nation.